A major shift appears to be happening in the Jaguars' backfield as Tank Bigsby is coming off a monster 101-yard rushing performance where he saw more than twice the snaps that Travis Etienne did. While head coach Doug Peterson was quick to reaffirm Etienne as the RB1 in Jacksonville, can we trust these comments, or is this just more coach speak? I'll be breaking down how you should treat the rise of Tank Bigsby as a fantasy football player for the rest of the 2024 season. So running backs can often be categorized as patient or decisive runners, but many of the best ones are able to mix these traits together. So your patient runner is going to be someone who's going to take their time in the backfield. They're going to wait for that lane to develop before just jumping through the first gap they find. This is something that's going to work really well when you have an offensive line that's able to do their job in the run game, but can lead to a lot of tackles for loss when the lanes don't open up. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, you have your decisive runners. You have the guys that are going to make quick decisions. They're going to break downhill fast. And this tends to work a lot better behind offensive lines that are not as dominant in the run blocking department. But at the same time, you can miss opportunities when blockers have a lane open and you just don't wait for that to show up. Now, as far as Tank Bigsby, he is going to be a much more decisive runner than he is a patient runner. And this is going to bode really well for him because Jacksonville does not have a really good run blocking offensive line. They have one guy who's very good. You'll see that on this play, but the rest of the unit is pretty much average at best. Not going to be players you're going to get a huge impact out of in that role. So this mentality works really well for Bigsby. He's going to rarely waste a lot of time before making his move. He's going to often find the best available lane, and he's going to have the burst to catch defenders off guard. He provides a really nice change of pace from what Etienne is able to, because Etienne, while he may be faster, he may have better top end speed, he's a lot more patient of a player. He's going to let the lanes develop before he gets going. Now, Tank Bigsby got his name for a reason, right? He's tough to bring down, and he's going to be a guy who's going to run through a lot of tackles. And you're going to see that on this play. In fact, during week 5 against the Colts, Tank Bigsby had more yards after contact than he did yards in total on the day rushing. So that means that he's essentially been hit in the backfield most plays, but he was still able to hit 100 yards with that situation, which says a lot about him and a lot about this offensive line that he's overperforming behind. Now, we'll go ahead, we'll get to this play, but Tank Bigsby, what he's going to do here is he's going to get this handoff. He's going to hesitate just for a moment because one of his blockers is in front of him. He's going to see where he's going, and then he's going to break downhill. And you're just going to see him pretty much take off and become a bowling ball. I mean, he's just going to bounce off guys. He's going to run through tackles, and this is going to actually end up being a touchdown. You'll see exactly why as we play this out. But we'll go ahead and we'll get this play rolling. So I want you to watch throughout this play Ezra Cleveland, number 76. This is your best run blocker on the offensive line for Jacksonville. So they're going to get the snap. Cleveland is going to be out in the middle. He's getting off this guy because they would have 2 on him. They'd have an unguarded player in Franklin. And so Ezra's going to get over and he's going to make this block. And he's going to clear open a rushing lane for Tank Bigsby. Now, as Ezra does this, you're going to see with Bigsby, he's going to plant his foot, he's going to get downhill, and he's going to start bouncing off guys because a lot of people are going to get their hands on him here, but he's just too tough to be taken down that easily. So you see the defensive lineman almost gets him. He gets hit again here by another defensive player. He's going to bounce off into what looks like number 33 here, but watch what Ezra Cleveland does on this play. So you got Bigsby, who's already broken like 2 or 3 tackles at this point. He's trying to go downhill still and extend this play. He's going to get help from Ezra Cleveland, who is going to come in, basically carry him and throw him into the end zone, which is why I was very clear to say that, well, this is not a great run blocking team, although it may appear so off this play. They have one really dominant player in that regard in Ezra Cleveland. So he's going to carry him here, ends up throwing him into the end zone. Now, what I have to note here at the end of that play, and you might have seen it, if you go rewind, you'll see it pretty clearly. This actually was a fumble. This was not an immediate touchdown. He had to recover the ball in the end zone, and that ended up resulting in a touchdown. But this was actually knocked out at the 1 yard line. Now, it's worth noting that last year, one of the biggest issues that Bigsby had wasn't just necessarily the role he was given and how difficult it was behind this offensive line, but it was more so fumbling issues. He had a lot of fumbles for a limited amount of time on the field. So it's something worth watching, something worth noting if you're a fantasy manager, but you see the positives here. You see immediately the type of player that Tank Bigsby can be, and it's just an extremely impressive play from him, from Ezra Cleveland, and from this offense in general. So on this next play, I'm going to showcase some of the creativity that Bigsby has as a rusher. Well, it doesn't always end well. He's been willing to redirect runs outside when there's nothing up the middle. He's had some big gains doing this, but in this example, he'll end up getting just a couple extra yards. Now, once Bigsby gets the ball here, he's going to quickly come to a stop, and we'll show that first so you guys can see why he does this. So, he gets the handoff. You're going to see he gets ready to plant his feet here. Well, this looks like it's going to be a wide open lane up the middle. You got to see where these defenders are rerouting, where the momentum's going. You can understand why Bigsby doesn't just take this straight up the middle. They started at the 37-yard line here. So they're looking to get back to that if they want just to not lose yardage on this play. But you've got Cam Robinson, number 74, who is currently losing this block. And what's going to happen is that this player for the Colts is going to quickly fill in this rushing lane. And if Bigsby takes this up the middle, this is maybe a 1 yard gain at most. If he goes left, first and foremost, it's going to be hard to cut over because Robinson is quickly getting in the way. And you've got two defenders, possibly just one, but at least one of them, right? That's going to be able to fill this gap. So what Bigsby's going to do instead is he's going to look to cut this run outside and try to get something on the edge. This is something that he's done quite a few times, but he's going to plant his feet, he's going to run around the tackle, and he's going to try to get some yards over here. So we're going to go ahead and watch how this goes for him, but what ends up happening is he's going to get a few extra yards from this place. So you see here quickly, this lane is gone. Just in a quick unpause, it's not there. You've got a Colts defender breaking downhill here. Bigsby's going to get around. It's going to be close. He almost runs into Harrison, but he's going to get a little bit of room to work with. He ends up still getting tackled for a small loss, but you're going to see that creativity from the way he's trying to play. Here's another example where that decisive and creative style is going to turn a loss into a positive play. So on this rep, Bigsby's going to immediately feel pressure as Anton Harrison, as you'll see here, and another tackle are going to let their defenders by. So right here, Anton Harrison doesn't make the block, pretty much just lets him by. He's setting up on 44, it would appear. Not exactly sure why this block wasn't made. The other guy you'll notice is, once again, Cam Robinson, where he's going to join in, make this a double team, but he's going to ultimately miss this defender. And what happens is 45 is around the corner, and you've also got the other defender screaming in. So this is as soon as Bigsby has got the ball, he's got pressure from both sides. So you look at his stance here, right? He's getting downhill immediately. He's not wasting time. He's not being patient. He knows he has to go, and he's going to break straight downhill at full speed on this play, which is going to result in him at least getting back to the line of scrimmage. Now, as he runs downhill, you're going to see another defender come and play here, which is 44 on the right side of your screen. He's going to make a nice cut to get outside of him, start to go a little bit horizontal here, but ultimately making a lot of people miss and getting a nice play out of this. So you'll see these two defenders miss, not able to get him. 44 is going to come in. He's going to plant his foot here. Completely misses here. You're going to see 44 just fly by. Even another defender misses. Another one ends up going down. It's more so horizontal at that point, right? He's running a lot of yards. He's not getting as much, but it's still a positive play where Bigsby is able to create a little bit of something out of what really should have been nothing. Now, Tank Bigsby isn't the world's greatest athlete, but he has enough speed and burst to make the big play. On this rep, we're going to see Tank Bigsby take this play out left. He's going to cut inside and start getting downfield, where he's going to end up making it through the final level of the defense and actually score on this play. It's going to be a really impressive run, but you're going to see he's really not going to waste his speed on these plays, right? He is not a really impressive athlete, and he understands that, and he knows how to set players up without really sacrificing the much needed speed of the play. So as he takes this, you're going to see a lot of defenders are going towards the edge. They're pretty much going to vacate this area of the field. Bigsby's going to plant his foot, seeing this. He's going to get downhill. Ultimately, all these guys end up missing. Now at this level, it would look like this play is pretty much over at this point. It actually is not, because Scherf is going to go pretty much right by 32. I don't know if he thought maybe Bigsby was going to take this run out to the left at this point, which makes some sense when you look at where the defenders are. And then you've also got what is, I believe, Luke Farrell up here, who ends up putting a block on number 44, but isn't able to actually hold that block the whole time, but Bigsby is still able to get through. So what Bigsby does here to score on this play, he's going to see that 32 is pretty much stopped in his spot. He has no momentum. And Bigsby is going to keep at full speed, which allows him to get through the hole that's going to be open up here. He's going to end up breaking through, right? 2 attempted tackles, going to miss, and he's gone at this point, right? Not elite speed. He's got enough. A little bit of early taunting there, but he still scores on the play, right? So it ended up working out, but you see the ability to at least have enough speed to get downfield, to know how to use it, how to set up defenders, and still have that kind of threat to his game. Now, switching the focus over to Travis Etienne, you're going to see a lot of decisive running when he's going up the gut, but a lot more patient running when he's going outside. So 2 very different styles depending on where he's going on the field. Now, given his profile as a faster, shiftier back, it's imperative for the Jaguars to give him opportunities in space. One of the biggest concerns that I have right now for Etienne, of which I'm going to be clear, it's not really his fault, has been the heavy usage of him on inside runs. Before week 5, Etienne had taken 15 of the 17 runs that were up the middle between the guards between him and Tank Bigsby. It's just simply not a role that he's really built for. But on this play, you're going to see Etienne's going to get this handoff. This is just a simple inside run. He's going to take this right up the gut, and the moment he takes on contact, he is going to be stopped pretty much right there and almost looks hurt after the play because it's a heavy hit, right? And he's not your world's biggest back. So you're going to see him get the handoff just straight up the middle, right? Trying to get through this gap. It's not there. He ends up getting hit by 2 guys at the same time. I think this might have actually been a flag here on the play. But he's just not going to get much more after that. Yep, you see the flag go fly after. Now, this next rep is just going to be a simple run to the outside where Etienne's going to show a lot more of that patient nature. So he's going to have a lot of blockers. He's going to be falling. He's going to move out to his left and try to find some sort of open lane that he can take where he can get some yardage and get a big gain out of this. But what you're going to see is that lack of decisiveness, that patience that he has on this play really just never ends up getting rewarded. And he ends up just not really getting that many yards out of this play. But as you'll see here, as this play develops right here, if I'm Etienne, I'm not committing to going to the outside here, right? I'm thinking about cutting this inside because at this point, if you're cutting upfield, I think you can get by this defender. 44 is blocked. In addition, your safety is way upfield. He's past the 40-yard line. And then your defensive lineman should not be able to catch you. So you're really worrying about the 2 safeties or the block being blown here. But instead of doing that, Etienne is going to stick with his blockers. And as you see, nothing ever ends up developing. You're going to have Tim Jones down here who's going to let 40 get in as well. And Etienne ends up just getting back to the line of scrimmage and gaining really only a yard or 2 out of a play that I think there was a lot more on the table. But that's kind of the nature of this, right? When you are a patient runner, behind an offensive line that really is not going to reward you for that often, it's not going to turn out that well too often. Now, I want to make clear that Travis Etienne isn't just an objectively worse player by any means, and one example of that is how he dominates in the receiving game. Etienne has been averaging 4 to 5 targets a game. Well, his opponent in that regard, Tank Bigsby, has 1 reception on the season. This is not comparable by any means, and this is a big deal if you're in a PPR league. Etienne is a huge weapon in space. He can make people miss. He can get a lot of yards. He can move quick. And so you're going to see some really good performances from him as a receiver. And just taking this last week, for example, against Indianapolis, 43 yards, 6 receptions. That alone gets you to double-digit points on the week, regardless of what he does as a rusher. And he still had a startable week despite not playing the full game. On this first reception, Etienne is going to fake a handoff and end up getting open in the flat here. So he'll come across the front of Trevor Lawrence. He's just going to continue out to about the 43-yard line or so. He's going to be wide open. No one's going to pick him up on this play, but there is going to be a defender that's in position to try to make the tackle here. So we'll watch this unfold. Now, you see how quick he is to get out here. And what's really impressive about this is how quick he's able to get turned around and how fast he's able to accelerate. So, see, the ball's in his hand. He's not tripping here, right? He's moving backwards at this point, and he's flipped around here. He's going to accelerate quick. You're going to see the defender try to make a tackle. He's going to miss him here, right? Etienne's going to have enough contact balance to stay in bounds here, end up getting upfield and getting a good gain here, 13 yards, right? It's a good play. And at the end of the day, well, you can sit here and say, he's not as creative as Tank Bigsby. Speed still kills in the NFL, and this is a good example of that speed showing up. Now, here's another example of how his speed is going to translate to the receiving game. Etienne is going to get another fake handoff here. He's going to come up the middle for what's going to be a very simple catch at the second level. He's going to come up around the 15-yard line, get himself turned around. He's still actually moving upfield. He's going to make the catch around here, end up getting a solid gain. What I want you to notice as we play this is that Etienne never stops moving upfield. He never loses momentum. He never comes to a rest. He's just going to keep moving. So you see here, so he's turned around, right? He's around the 12-yard line or so. He just backpedals into this catch, right? Makes the catch. He's already getting his momentum back. He's accelerated. He's going to take all the yards he can get. Quick decision, right? It's not as if he's trying to set up moves there, but he understands that there's no big play to be had here, right? There's no defenders you're going to be able to juke out. You got to get what you can get. And so he's going to get downfield as quick as he can, end up falling forward for what's a really nice gain on this play, and would be another chunk of points to his fantasy football performance. Now, what are my overall thoughts of this backfield? As counterintuitive as it may sound, I think these are both players that owners should be holding on to right now. My argument for Tank Bigsby is rather simple. He's been overperforming, he's getting more involved as the weeks go by, and he has the upside to be a strong starter if Travis Etienne isn't playing in Jacksonville. Now, as for Etienne, this is a team that's either going to live by their verbal commitment to him or they're going to move him at the trade deadline. I don't think it's going to go any other way, to be honest. Either of these scenarios would leave Etienne as a starter, since I see it highly unlikely that he would just be relegated to some backup in Jacksonville for the rest of the season. Even if he's not the best fit to play behind Jacksonville's offensive line, he's a talented player that should be no less than a starter in the NFL. If the Jaguars don't see him that way, another team surely will, and they'll make a convincing argument with their trade offer. I don't believe this is the right time to sell high, and that owners should exercise some patience with these players going forward. So with all that said, I want to thank you guys for checking out this film breakdown. If you've enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content as we'll continue to post more throughout the season. If you're a Jaguars fan watching this, check out my own personal channel called Cardiac Cats, where I talk about all things Duval. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.